So today is a very important milestone for me. I have been drawing consecutively for 150 days, and I think it's appropriate to start this video with the drawing right now. So if you've been tuning in for the past few days, you noticed that I'm not at my usual desk where I create most of my illustrations. Rather, I am at the spot where this whole thing started. So 150 days ago, I drew this piece, and it all started sitting right here, which is why I decided to draw today's drawing here to commemorate that. And the reason I chose to sit here was because it was just the best place to fuel my inspiration at the time. Just being able to look out into the trees and seeing nature was just very inspiring. And while sitting on the floor, just started getting a little uncomfortable, which is why I don't continue to draw here every single time. However, it is really nice to come back and reconnect with the earlier days. It's crazy to think how much time has gone by, and I'm just proud of myself that I've been able to do this, because I'll be honest, most things that I set myself up to do, that I want to create a long-term habit for, doesn't necessarily happen the way I want it. You know, usually you go about a week and then it all fades away and falls apart. But this has remained, and I'm really happy that it has. Number one is because it really helped me regain a lot of my creative workflow. Doing this as a full-time job essentially is not an easy task, and sometimes when you create professionally, it can become a little draining. But here's the thing, these little drawings that I did every morning, they were not under any sort of lens, they were not under any sort of judgment, they were just free. And that's what I really liked about it, is because I could just be true to myself and really put down whatever I felt necessary on paper. Typically, when I create something professionally, I will do a pencil draft first, create the composition, make sure everything is where it is, to get an overall vision before I start to actually use my pens to finish the detailing and all the process. But with these drawings, it's the pen directly to paper, which means that it is completely permanent 100% of the time. And so sometimes I get things that I can't really fix and things that are very strange, to say the least. Now obviously my mood also plays into the factor. So if, for example, I didn't have a really good night's rest, or if something else is on my mind, there's stress or anxiety of life, whatever it may be, it usually corresponds to a less interesting, well, sometimes interesting can be a good explanation to those illustrations, but they just are either very rushed, very whatever, I guess. I suppose the best way to explain it is to actually show you some. So for example, this one is the one that really comes into my mind a lot, and it's very strange to me because I don't know what this is. It kind of reminds me of a power pole, but it definitely isn't like any power pole I've ever seen. And then these mountains that are more like pyramids than anything else. I honestly can't remember what I was thinking that day or what was really going on, but I can tell you it was probably a day I wasn't feeling my all-time best. So clearly there's some days where I completely don't remember what I have drawn, especially right now when I go and look back at some of the different drawings that I did the past 150 days. For the most part, it's usually the case. I don't really remember. They're really quick moments of my day that I don't really think about. It's like, do you think about brushing your teeth every day? Probably not. It's kind of the same thing. But there are certain illustrations that do come to mind, and as I was flipping through the book today, this one really caught my attention. So this one here has a layer of cloud in the middle of the page. Now, as far as I remember, I'm pretty sure this is the only one that I drew like this. I don't really add clouds too much. There are a few where there's isolated clouds here and there, but this one, it's a full range of clouds, and there's snow coming down from them. But I remember the big significance of this because either it was that morning or the day previous, I was made aware of this concept that I really, really like, and I've adopted into my life since then. And it's that the sky is always blue above the clouds. You know, the blue sky is always there. Even on a cloudy, overcast day where all you see is completely gray, the sky is always blue, and you can connect that to life in a lot of ways as well. And we often sometimes get caught up with our gray clouds that are covering the real true beauty that still exists. But we tend to focus a lot on that gray, that darkness, the thing that's covering it up. And so that was a really monumental, I guess, way of thinking that really kind of helped shift. So in a way, I guess doing this video logging challenge will be a way to actually showcase the illustrations from this point on. So having a documentation of it for my own personal use will be kind of special, because now I'll be able to remember why I drew something and the reasons it came out. And I'll also be able to share that with you, which, if you find that enlightening or special in any way, I mean, that's the more the merrier. I might as well share my discoveries and what I come through with all of you, if I can make a difference in some way. So, yeah. So anyways, let's dive into today's drawing, because I haven't explained it yet. And there is a little bit of a thought process over this one, over the last couple that I did. So let me just pull it up here. Alright, so this piece, there's a couple things going here. So, for one, there's a lot of mountains in this one and there's no trees. The reason why I did mountains, now the first mountain in the foreground, that's completely dark, that I feel is like the mountain that I'm currently on. So I'm basically kind of climbing it at the moment. And all the other mountains behind it are just some of the other mountains that I've already summited. So looking back at different milestones, different goals, different things in my life. So that was kind of the whole concept of this illustration. Now, artistically, am I in love with this? Not really. Truthfully, not really. Honestly, well, with these illustrations, I only use one pen, and so it's actually kind of a bit of a challenge to create different thicknesses of stippling and line work. Obviously, this pen is very good at that because it's very, I don't know what the word is. It's very multifunctional, maybe you can say that. But yeah, if I was to do a similar idea professionally, I would have probably used 5 different types of pens with different tips, with different thicknesses, to create a much more cleaner aesthetic and all that. But for this purpose, it works, I think. And yeah. So yeah, that's a quick overview of today. I'm super proud of myself to have gone this far with consecutively drawing, and I'm excited to continue to do that for however long I possibly can. And I appreciate everyone who is joining in and watching so far. I know it's only the 3rd day, but I know that this process of recording is going to be probably really special. And so yeah, I'm excited to continue it. Anyways, I do want to wish you guys all an amazing day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. See you later.